2021 was a great year for AEW with multiple big name signings, fantastic pay-per-views and consistently strong weekly TV. Like any wrestling company and subjective form of entertainment, there have been critics surrounding some of it, and some of the negatives are more universally agreed upon than others. But yeah, to cut out some of the mistakes and all that, we thought we'd compile a list of 10 things that AEW fans don't want to see in 2022. And yeah, this was a hard list to make with how good AEW is. But moving on then to number 10, and that is cinematic matches. During the pandemic, wrestling went through a peculiar period in which cinematics were necessary to freshen up the product. AEW saw a couple of cinematic matches, including Sting and Darby Allin versus Team Taz and the Stadium Stampede. Really loved the Stadium Stampede, but yeah, that Sting Darby thing, for me, it personally wasn't for me. And yeah, I think we're just a bit tired of them now. But moving on then to number 9, and that is no Paul White or Mark Henry in a big feud. Henry and White are two huge names of the wrestling industry, establishing themselves as two of the best of all time. But yeah, with how loaded the AEW roster is, I think it's time to give young stars like Jungle Boy, for example, a chance in those big feuds rather than people like them. But number 1 is the Dark Order split. There was a point in 2021 where it looked like the Dark Order were imploding from within, and all of the groups in AEW, the Dark Order needs this release. The faction is one of AEW's most popular acts, promoting friendship and love, and they should remain that way. And obviously with the legacy from Mr. Brody Lee, it just makes sense. But moving on then to number 7, and that is not having too many debuts. AEW had a massive, huge signings in 2021, bringing in the likes of Daniel Bryan, Christian Cage, CM Punk, Adam Cole, the list goes on. But yeah, we've also had signings like Jay Lethal, Tony Nese to help Dark and stuff like that. But yeah, I think with how stacked the roster is now, we may be getting a point where we don't need too many more. But moving on then to number 6, more factions. With more signings, it seems like we're getting more factions. What with Undisputed Era reuniting, the Inner Circle, the Pinnacle, the Elite, the Dark Order. At times, feuds between factions have felt messy and lazy, and yeah, maybe it's time for AEW to move more away from that style of booking and more to singles feuds. Moving on then to number 5 is Dailies Pace. Throughout the pandemic, Dailies Pace became AEW's de facto home, with every home show there. Since AEW returns to road, the prospect of seeing Dailies Pace gives an uneasy feeling. Of course, AEW should return every so often, but yeah, we don't want to see it as often as it's coming up, because it does seem to appear once every month, maybe. Yeah, just a bit less often. Moving on then is number 4, an offensive joke. All humour is subjective and will be on both sides. However, there's been a few occasions where AEW have kind of overset the mark. I think that's that Max Caster rap on Dark and things like that. Maybe, yeah, and that Tony Khan tweet on New Year's Day, maybe even. Yeah, I know it wasn't a joke, but yeah, just kind of need to cut that out. But moving on then to number 3, Cody Rhodes as a babyface. Cody Rhodes has perhaps gone too far in terms of negative for action to fight his appeal and support as a face. His over-the-top presentations, title victories, I think he knows he's kind of, his character is kind of a heel but a face at the same time. I just hope AEW continues that and doesn't try to keep him as a face. But moving on then to number 2, exploding barbed wire death match. And yeah, we all know what happened at Revolution. It brought a lot of attention and anticipation. The match was great, but the dud explosion made for an embarrassing moment. If AEW could do it again without that explosion, then sure, but yeah, would you really trust it to happen again? Personally, I would feel nervous it would happen again. But moving on then to number 1, and that's the same booking of the women's divisions. Out of all the positives in AEW, perhaps the biggest negative is the women's division. If AEW continues to reserve just one match a show for women, then it will lack non-creative title feuds, and that's not really what we want with the likes of Thunder Rosa, Ruby Soho joining. We really want to see more than that. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching, and to like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, comments down below. Follow me to the description for daily wrestling news. Subscribe to my channel on the screen right now, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.